The rain hammered against the bodega window so hard that Aria Lopez thought the glass might shatter. And when the door burst open with a gust of wind that scattered napkins across the floor, she looked up to see a man stumbling inside who was clearly not from this neighborhood. His suit probably cost more than 3 months of her rent, though it was now soaked through and clinging to his shoulders. Dark hair plastered against his forehead, he stood in the doorway looking bewildered, like he had landed on another planet. Aria set down the inventory clipboard and walked over. "You okay?" she asked. He turned to her, and she noticed his eyes first. Deep brown, with an intensity that made her momentarily forget she was wearing her faded work apron with a coffee stain on the front. "I am lost," he said, his accent thick and unfamiliar. "My phone, it died. I was looking for the subway and then the rain." He gestured helplessly at the storm outside. Aria smiled despite herself. "Which subway line?" "The 6 train." "I have a meeting in Midtown, but my driver, he dropped me at wrong place." She glanced at the clock. It was nearly 8 in the evening. "Bit late for a meeting." "Dinner meeting," he corrected, then looked around the small bodega with curiosity. "This is your store, my uncle's. I just help out." She grabbed a towel from behind the counter and offered it to him. "Here, you look like you went swimming." He accepted it gratefully, drying his face and hair. "Thank you, you are very kind." He extended his hand. "Tariq Zahra, Aria Lopez." His handshake was firm, confident. "The 6 train is about 4 blocks that way." She pointed east. "But in this rain, you might want to wait a few minutes." Tariq looked at the storm, then back at her. "Perhaps I will buy something while I wait. What do you recommend?" She laughed. "We have the finest selection of chips and candy bars in all of Washington Heights. Also coffee that has been sitting here since this morning, but I can make fresh." Fresh coffee sounds wonderful. As she busied herself with the coffee maker, Aria was acutely aware of him watching her. Most customers barely looked up from their phones. This man studied everything, his gaze traveling over the cramped shelves, the faded linoleum floor, the lottery ticket display, like it was all fascinating. "You are from here?" he asked. "New York, born and raised." "You are definitely not." He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "Dubai, I moved here 6 months ago, long way from home." "Yes," something flickered across his expression. "Very long way." She handed him the coffee in a paper cup. He insisted on paying, pulling out a wallet that looked like it was made of actual leather, not the synthetic kind. He gave her a 20 for a $2 coffee. "I do not have smaller," he said apologetically. "I have change." But when she tried to give it to him, he waved it away. "For your kindness." And the towel. Before she could protest, the door opened again. Her cousin Miguel rushed in, shaking water from his jacket. He stopped when he saw Tariq, his eyes narrowing slightly in that protective way he got. "Everything good, Aria?" "Fine. Just helping a lost customer." Tariq must have sensed the shift in atmosphere. He nodded politely. "Thank you again, I should go." "Rain has not stopped," Aria pointed out. "I will manage." He moved toward the door, then hesitated. "This coffee, it is very good. Perhaps I will come back." "We are here every day," she said, then felt immediately stupid. Why would a man in a suit that expensive ever come back to their tiny bodega? But he smiled at her like she had said something wonderful. "Then I will see you again, Aria Lopez." After he left, Miguel came up beside her. "Who was that?" "Just some guy who got lost." "Rich guy?" "Yeah." She watched through the window as Tariq disappeared into the rain, holding his jacket over his head. "Really rich, probably." Miguel grunted. "Be careful." He just needed directions, Miguel. But that night, lying in her small bedroom in the apartment she shared with her mother and younger sister, Aria kept thinking about those intense brown eyes, and the way Tariq had looked at their bodega like it was interesting rather than shabby. She did not really expect to see him again. But 3 days later he walked through the door at noon, and her heart did this stupid fluttering thing. "Hello," he said, heading straight for the counter where she stood. "I came for the excellent coffee." "The 6 train is still 4 blocks that way," she said, trying to sound casual. "I know," I looked at a map. His eyes crinkled with humor. "But the coffee there is not as good." This time he bought coffee and a sandwich, and he ate it standing by the window, watching the street outside. Aria tried to focus on restocking the cold drinks, but she kept glancing over. "You are very busy," Tariq observed. "Always something to do. You work here full-time, afternoons and evenings. Mornings I am at school." His eyebrows rose. "School, city college, nursing program." She felt defensive suddenly. "I am going to be an RN." "That is impressive." He sounded genuine. "My mother, she always said nurses were the real heroes of hospitals." "Your mother sounds smart." "She was," past tense. His expression shuddered briefly. "She died when I was 17. I am sorry." Aria knew that loss. Her own father had passed when she was 15. They looked at each other for a moment, a shared understanding passing between them. Then the door opened with a group of teenagers, and the moment broke. Tariq finished his sandwich and threw away his trash. "I will come back," he said, and he did. The next day and the day after that. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes for random items he clearly did not need. He bought shoelaces when he was wearing loafers. He bought a candy bar and admitted he did not like chocolate. On his 5th visit, Aria finally asked, "Why do you keep coming here? There are like 50 places between here and Midtown where you obviously work." He considered the question seriously. "Because you make me feel welcome. Because you do not care about my money or my business. Because when I am here, I can just be Tariq, not Tariq Zahra of Zahra Import and Export." "That is your company, my family's company. I run the New York operations." "So you are what, like rich?" He laughed. "I suppose, does it matter?" Aria thought about it. "I guess not, but it is weird, you showing up here every day. Is it bothering you? I can stop." "No." The word came out too fast. "I mean, buy whatever you want. It is a free country." His smile was slow and warm. "Then I will keep coming." That weekend, Aria's mother Alina noticed her spending extra time on her hair before her shift. "What is going on with you?" "Nothing." "You are wearing lip gloss to work at the bodega." Her younger sister Isabella looked up from her phone. "She has a crush." "I do not." "You totally do. Is it that guy Miguel mentioned, the rich one?" Aria glared at Miguel, who was eating cereal at their cramped kitchen table. "You have a big mouth," he shrugged. "Mommy asked if anything interesting was happening." Alina sat down, her expression serious. "Aria, be careful. Men like that, they do not understand our lives." "Mommy, it is not like that. He is just a customer." But even as she said it, she knew it was not entirely true. The way Tariq looked at her, the way he found excuses to come by, the way they talked about everything from her classes to his frustrations with New York bureaucracy to their favorite foods. It was becoming something. The shift happened on a Tuesday evening. The bodega was empty except for the two of them. Tariq had brought his laptop and asked if he could work in the corner for a while. Aria said yes, and for an hour they existed in comfortable parallel, her doing inventory, him typing away on spreadsheets. When he finally closed the computer, he looked exhausted. "Long day?" she asked. "Long week? Long month?" He rubbed his eyes. "I am trying to finalize a contract with a supplier, but there are complications." "What do you import?" "Luxury goods mostly. Textiles, rugs, art pieces from the Middle East and South Asia. My father built the business in Dubai, and now he wants to expand in America. So here I am." "Sounds stressful." "It is. And my father, he has very specific ideas about how things should be done." Even from 7,000 miles away, he manages to make his presence felt. There was tension in his voice. "You do not get along," Tariq sighed. "We get along fine when I do exactly what he wants. When I have my own ideas, it becomes difficult." Aria understood family pressure. Her mother had not been thrilled about nursing school, preferring she work full-time and help with bills. "Family is complicated." "Yes." He stood and stretched. "But enough about my problems. Tell me something good. What is the best part of your nursing program?" She thought about it. "I like the practical stuff. Working with actual patients during clinicals. There was this older woman last week. She was so scared before her surgery, and I just sat with her and talked. And afterwards she told the nurses I had made her feel safe. That felt really good." The way Tariq looked at her then made her breath catch. "You will be an excellent nurse." "How do you know?" "Because you have kindness. Real kindness, not the polite kind. I saw it the first day we met." The air between them felt charged. Aria broke eye contact first. "You are easy to be kind to, Aria." His voice was soft. "Can I take you to dinner?" Her heart hammered. Like a date, like a date. 1,000 reasons to say no flooded her mind. They were from completely different worlds. Her mother would worry. Miguel would disapprove. It was complicated. "Okay," she said instead. His smile could have powered the whole city. They went to a small Italian place in the village the following Saturday. Aria wore her nicest dress, which suddenly seemed shabby when Tariq picked her up in a car with a driver. But when he saw her, his face lit up. "You look beautiful." She felt beautiful under his gaze. Dinner was easy and hard at the same time. Easy because they talked like they always did, the conversation flowing naturally. Hard because every time their hands accidentally touched, Aria felt electricity shoot through her. Hard because she kept noticing other diners glancing at them, at the contrast they must have made. Over dessert, Tariq reached across the table and took her hand deliberately. "I like you very much, Aria. I like you too." Her voice came out whisper soft, "But I should be honest with you. My family, they will not understand this, us. Because I am not rich. Because you are not from our culture. My father, he is already making plans for me to marry someone he chooses. Someone from a good Dubai family." Aria's stomach dropped. "So this is just temporary for you?" "No." He gripped her hand tighter. "I am saying this because I want you to know what we are facing. I am saying this because I do not want to lie to you. If we do this, really do this, it will be complicated, but I want to try." "Do you?" She thought about her mother's warnings. About the sensible thing to do, about how heartbreak was almost guaranteed. "Yes," she said. "I want to try." He brought her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles, and Aria felt like she was diving off a cliff with no idea where she would land. The next few months were the happiest and most terrifying of Aria's life. They stole time whenever they could. Tariq would pick her up after her shifts, and they would walk through the city for hours, talking about everything. He took her to museums and restaurants she had only read about. She took him to her favorite taco truck and taught him to salsa dance at a community center event, laughing as he tried to find the rhythm. They had not told their families. Aria's mother knew she was seeing someone, but not who. Tariq's father knew nothing at all. "Does that bother you?" Aria asked one evening as they sat in a small park near the bodega. "The sneaking around?" "Yes." Tariq laced his fingers through hers. "I want to tell everyone about you. I want to bring you to dinner with my colleagues. I want to post pictures of us together. But I am afraid. My father, he is a traditional man. When I tell him, everything will change." Aria leaned her head on his shoulder. "We cannot hide forever." "I know." He kissed the top of her head. "Soon, I promise." Soon came sooner than either expected. Aria was at the bodega when an older woman walked in, elegant in a way that made everyone turn and look. She wore a designer abaya and expensive jewelry, and her presence filled the small space. She walked directly to Aria. "You are Aria Lopez." Alarm bells rang in Aria's head. "Who is asking?" "I am Fatima Zahra, Tariq's aunt." The ground felt unstable. "How did you find me?" "Tariq is not as careful as he thinks. I saw a charge from this bodega on company credit card statements. Multiple charges, so I came to see what was so interesting." Fatima looked around the store with barely concealed disdain. "And now I understand. Does Tariq know you are here?" "No, and he will not if you are smart." Fatima's voice was cold. "You seem like a nice girl, you work hard, you go to school, but you must see this cannot continue." "That is not your decision." "Perhaps not. But I know my nephew. He is ambitious and he needs his father's support for his career. If his father finds out about you, Tariq will have to choose. And when he chooses the company and his family as he must, you will be hurt." "I am trying to save you pain." Aria's hands trembled. "You do not know him." "I have known him his entire life. And I know my brother, Tariq's father. He has already selected a bride for Tariq. A girl from a good family in Dubai. The engagement will be announced in 3 months." The words hit like a physical blow. "Tariq said he would not do that, did he? Or did he say his father had plans?" Fatima's expression softened slightly. "I am not trying to be cruel, but you are young. You will recover. End this now before it becomes worse." After she left, Aria stood behind the counter, shaking. When Tariq came by that evening as usual, she could barely look at him. "What is wrong?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Your aunt came to see me." His face went pale. "Fatima, when?" "This afternoon. She told me about the engagement your father arranged, the one you forgot to mention." "Aria, I was going to tell you. I only found out last week and I have been trying to figure out how to handle it." "How to handle it?" Her voice rose. "Were you planning to just ghost me? Or were you going to string me along until your wedding day?" "No, I told my father no. I told him I would not marry anyone he chose." "And what did he say?" Tariq looked away. "He said if I refuse, I am out of the company. He will cut me off completely." "So you are going to do it?" Aria felt tears burning her eyes. "Your aunt was right." "I said no, Aria. Are you listening? I chose you. But for how long? Until it gets too hard. Until you miss your comfortable life." She was being unfair and she knew it, but the fear was too overwhelming. "Is that what you think of me?" Tariq's voice was low, hurt. "That I care more about money than you. I think you have never had to live without money. I think you do not understand what you are giving up." They stared at each other, the space between them suddenly vast. "Maybe you are right," Tariq said finally. "Maybe I do not understand, but I am willing to find out. The question is whether you believe in us enough to let me try." Aria wanted to. God, she wanted to, but she was terrified. "I need time to think," she whispered. Pain flashed across his face. "How much time?" "I do not know." He nodded slowly. "Okay, take your time. But Aria, I love you. That is not going to change." It was the first time either of them had said those words, and he said it as he was walking away. The next week was miserable. Aria threw herself into school and work, trying not to think about Tariq. But everything reminded her of him. The coffee maker, the corner where he used to sit with his laptop, the candy he did not even like that he kept buying anyway. Her mother found her crying in the bathroom on Wednesday night. "Tell me what is wrong, Mija." So Aria told her everything. About Tariq, about his family, about the impossible choice he was making. Elena listened quietly, then said, "You love him." "Yes, and he loves you. He says he does." "Then you need to decide if you trust that. Love across cultures, it is not easy. Your father's family, they were not happy when he married me. His mother thought I was not good enough because I did not finish high school. But your father, he did not care what they thought. He chose me every day for 18 years until the day he died. Alina took Aria's hand. If Tariq is like your father, he will fight for you, but you have to meet him halfway. You have to fight too. What if it does not work out? Then at least you tried. Regret for not trying is worse than regret for failing. That night, Aria texted Tariq, "Can we talk?" He showed up at her apartment 20 minutes later, breathless like he had run the whole way. They sat on the front steps of her building, close but not touching. "I am sorry," Aria said. "I got scared." "I understand. I am scared too. Your aunt said you would choose the company." "My aunt does not know everything." Tariq finally took her hand. "I had a video call with my father yesterday. I told him about you. I told him I am not marrying anyone else." "What did he say?" "Many things, most of them angry. He said I am throwing away my future. He said I am being foolish. He said he did not raise me to be this person." Tariq's voice was steady, but she could hear the pain underneath. "And then he hung up on me." "Oh, Tariq, I am so sorry." "I am not. I mean, it hurts. But I meant what I said. I choose you. I will always choose you." Aria kissed him then, there on the steps with her neighbors probably watching from windows. She kissed him like it was the first and last time, pouring everything she felt into it. When they pulled apart, Tariq was smiling. "Does this mean you are giving me a chance?" "It means I love you too." "I should have said it before. You can say it again now." "I love you, Tariq Zahra." Best words I have ever heard. Things did not magically become easy. Tariq's father stopped speaking to him entirely. His position at the company became tenuous as his father tried to force him out. Fatima called multiple times, lecturing him about duty and respect. But Tariq stood firm. He started looking for other job opportunities, reaching out to competitors. And slowly, over the next 2 months, he built something independent from his father's company. Meanwhile, Aria brought him to Sunday dinner with her family. Her mother was cautiously welcoming. Isabella thought he was fancy but nice. Miguel remained suspicious until Tariq spent an entire afternoon helping him fix his car, getting grease on his expensive clothes without complaint. "Okay, he is not terrible," Miguel admitted after, "but if he hurts you, I will still beat him up." "You will have to get in line," Isabella said. "I will do it first." Tariq fit into her life better than Aria had expected. He helped Isabella with her college applications. He talked to Alina about her job at the hospital cafeteria, remembering details from previous conversations. He came to Aria's graduation from the nursing program with flowers and pride in his eyes. The hard part was Tariq's family. His father's silence was a constant weight. Video calls with relatives ended in arguments. Only Fatima eventually softened, calling one day to say, "If you are going to be stubborn about this, at least bring her to visit properly." 6 months after that first rainy night, Tariq asked Aria to come with him to Dubai. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Your father does not even want to meet me." "My father does not control everything. My mother's family, they are still there. My cousins, my grandmother, they want to know you, and I want you to see where I come from." The trip was overwhelming. Dubai was bright and massive and wealthy in ways that made Aria dizzy. Tariq's family home was more like a palace. His grandmother was tiny and fierce, looking Aria up and down with sharp eyes. "So, you are the girl causing all this trouble," she said in heavily accented English. "I did not mean to cause trouble, The old woman studied her. "You love my grandson very much, and you are going to be a nurse." "Yes, I just passed my licensing exam." "Good, useful profession." She turned to Tariq. "I like her better than that insipid girl your father chose. At least this one has spine." It was not exactly a warm welcome, but it was something. The rest of the trip was complicated. Some family members were kind, curious about her and her life. Others were coldly polite or openly disapproving. Tariq never left her side, his hand always finding hers, his presence a constant reassurance. On their last night, they had dinner with his Aunt Fatima, her husband, and their children. Halfway through the meal, the door opened. Tariq's father walked in. The room went silent. Tariq Zahra was an imposing man, tall and broad-shouldered with gray streaking his dark hair. He looked at Tariq with an unreadable expression, then his gaze moved to Aria. "So this is her." "Father." Tariq stood. "I did not know you were coming. Your grandmother insisted. She said if I did not meet the girl, she would disown me." He said it without humor. "Sit down, let me look at you properly." It was not a request. Aria sat, very aware of being examined. "You are a nurse?" "Yes, sir." "My son gave up his position in the family company for you." "I did not ask him to do that." "No, but he did it anyway. He has been like this since he was a child. Stubborn." Rashid turned to Tariq. "You are happy." "I am, and you are working now for Karim Enterprises." "Yes, they offered me a regional director position. Karim is my competitor." "I know." Father and son stared at each other. Then, unexpectedly, Rashid's mouth twitched. "At least you are not working for Al-Mansouri. They are idiots." He looked back at Aria. "If you hurt my son, you will answer to me. If I hurt your son, I will deserve whatever you do to me." He nodded once sharply. "Come, eat. Your grandmother made biryani and she will be insufferable if we let it get cold." It was not forgiveness, it was not acceptance. But it was a start. Back in New York, life found a new rhythm. Aria started her first nursing job at a community hospital, working long shifts but loving the work. Tariq thrived at his new company, building relationships and proving himself outside his father's shadow. They moved in together after a year, finding a modest apartment that was bigger than anywhere Aria had lived but smaller than Tariq was used to. He joked that he had never been happier doing his own laundry. Slowly, grudgingly, both families adjusted. Alina invited Tariq to Christmas and stopped looking surprised when he showed up. Rashid sent terse emails about business that gradually included brief questions about Tariq's personal life. Fatima visited New York and actually complimented Aria's earrings. 2 years after that rainy night, Tariq brought Aria back to the bodega. It was late evening and Miguel was working the counter. "What are you two doing here?" Miguel asked. "Do not tell me you actually missed this place." "I needed to come back," Tariq said, "to where we first met." "That is sappy, man." "Let him be sappy," Aria said, but her heart was starting to race because Tariq was looking at her with that expression, the one that made her feel like she was the only person in the world. Aria Lopez. He took both her hands. "That night I came in here, lost and soaking wet. I had no idea my life was about to change. You gave me coffee and kindness when you had no reason to. You saw me as just Tariq, not as my father's son or my family's name. And every day since then, you have made me want to be better." "Tariq," she whispered, tears already forming. He knelt down on the faded linoleum floor of the bodega, pulling a small box from his pocket. "I do not know what our future will look like exactly. I know it will be complicated and messy and probably involve arguing with my father and your cousin threatening me." "Hey," Miguel protested weakly, but he was grinning. "But I know I want to spend every day trying to deserve you. So will you marry me?" The ring was beautiful, simple, perfect. But Aria was not looking at it. She was looking at Tariq, at this man who had given up so much and gained so much more. "Yes," she said. "Yes, absolutely yes." When he slid the ring on her finger and kissed her, Miguel actually cheered. The wedding planning was exactly as complicated as expected. Alina wanted a traditional church ceremony. Tariq's family wanted to follow Muslim customs. Both families had opinions about everything from the venue to the guest list to the food. "We could just elope." Tariq suggested after a particularly heated discussion about whether to serve alcohol. No way, Aria said. We are seeing this through. Both of our families are going to celebrate together even if it kills us. In the end, they compromised on everything. 2 ceremonies, one at a church with Aria in a white dress, one at a mosque with Aria in a beautiful kaftan, both families present for each. A reception at a restaurant that could accommodate both having and non-halal food requirements. A guest list that included everyone from Aria's nursing school friends to Tariq's business contacts to her uncle's bodega customers. The night before the wedding, Aria sat with her mother and sister in her old apartment. "You ready for this?" Elena asked. "I am terrified and excited in equal measure." "That is how you know it is right." Her mother squeezed her hand. "Your father would be so proud of you, of the woman you have become, the way you fought for your love. I wish he could be here. He is. I feel him all the time. And tomorrow, he will be watching you walk down that aisle." The wedding day was chaos and beauty. Aria cried during her vows at the church. Tariq's hands shook when he placed the ring on her finger. At the mosque ceremony, Tariq's grandmother gave them both a blessing that had everyone crying. At the reception, Miguel gave a speech about how suspicious he had been and how wrong, how Tariq had proven himself worthy of Aria. Fatima gave a speech about the importance of family and how it could expand to include new people. Even Rashid stood up, his words brief but meaningful. "When my son told me he was choosing love over duty, I thought he was foolish," Rashid said, his voice carrying through the room. "I thought he did not understand what was important, but watching him these past years, watching him build a life with Aria, I realize he understood better than I did. Love is not a weakness. Choosing your own path is not betrayal. My son has become the man I always hoped he would be, and Aria, you are part of our family now whether you like it or not." It was the closest to a warm welcome they would probably ever get from him, and it was enough. Aria and Tariq danced their first dance to a song that mixed Latin rhythms with Middle Eastern melodies, a combination that should not have worked but somehow did. Around them, 2 families who had never expected to be joined were laughing and eating and celebrating together. "Still glad you walked into that bodega?" Aria asked as they swayed together. "Best decision I ever made was getting lost in the rain." Tariq kissed her forehead. "I found exactly where I needed to be." Their honeymoon was a week in Puerto Rico followed by a week visiting extended family in Dubai. It was perfectly imperfect, a blend of both their worlds. Back in New York, they settled into married life. Aria took a position in the emergency department, which was intense and demanding and exactly what she wanted. Tariq was promoted to vice president of his company. They bought a small house in Queens, close enough to both their families but far enough for their own space. Sunday dinners alternated between Elena's apartment and their place, with Tariq learning to make Araz Khan Palo and Aria mastering Kabsa. They video called Dubai once a week, conversations that were getting warmer and easier as time went on. A year into their marriage, Aria realized she was pregnant. She found out on a random Tuesday morning, staring at the test in their bathroom. When Tariq came home that evening, she had arranged a tiny pair of baby shoes on the kitchen counter. He looked at them for a long moment, then at her. "Are you saying what I think you are saying? We are having a baby." The noise he made was somewhere between a laugh and a sob as he swept her into his arms. "We are having a baby," he repeated, like he could not quite believe it. Both families were overjoyed. Elena cried and immediately started knitting. Isabella screamed so loud that Miguel came running thinking something was wrong. When they video called Dubai, Rashid's stern face actually softened into something close to a smile. "A grandchild," he said. "Finally, something good happens." "Thanks, Dad," Tariq said dryly, but he was grinning. The pregnancy was hard. Aria worked too much, her feet constantly aching. Tariq fussed over her constantly, which was sweet and annoying in equal measure. Both families offered advice, much of it contradictory. "You need to eat for two," Alina insisted. "Do not overeat. It is not healthy," Fatima said during a video call. "Everyone needs to calm down," Aria finally said during Sunday dinner when they all started arguing about whether she should stop working. "I am a nurse. I know what I am doing. And more importantly, this is my body and my baby, and I will make my own decisions." The room went quiet. Then Rashid, who was visiting for 2 weeks, started laughing. "I see why you chose her, Tariq. She has fire." After that, the families backed off a little. Aria worked until her 7th month, then switched to lighter duties. Tariq worked from home as much as possible, setting up his laptop at the kitchen table so he could be near her. When her water broke at 3 in the morning, Aria was remarkably calm. Tariq was not. "It is happening. The baby." "We need to go. Where are the bags? Did you call your mother? Should I call my father?" Tariq breathed. Aria was timing her contractions, breathing through the pain. "We have time." They did not have as much time as she thought. 6 hours later, in the same hospital where she worked, Aria brought their daughter into the world. She was perfect. Tiny and screaming and absolutely perfect. "Hello, sweetheart," Aria whispered, cradling her. "We have been waiting for you." Tariq was crying openly, his hand gentle on the baby's head. "She is beautiful, just like her mother." They named her Layla Alina Zahra, honoring both their families. When Alina came to visit, she held her granddaughter and cried. When Rashid and Fatima flew in 2 days later, the normally stern man became putty in Layla's tiny hands. "She has my nose," he declared. "She has my mother's eyes," Alina countered. "She has both," Aria said tiredly but happily from her hospital bed. That is the point. Bringing Layla home was terrifying and wonderful. Both families descended, filling their house with help and advice and love. Miguel taught Tariq how to change diapers. Fatima taught Alina a lullaby from Dubai. Rashid and Alina discovered they both loved telenovelas and started watching together while holding the baby. Late one night, when Layla was 3 weeks old and finally sleeping, Aria and Tariq sat together in their living room, exhausted but content. "Remember when your aunt said this would never work?" Aria said softly. "I remember you almost believed her. I remember you chose me anyway." She leaned against him. "Best decision you ever made. Second best. First was getting lost in the rain." He kissed her hair. Everything after that was just falling into place. The years that followed were full and rich. Layla grew into a bright, curious toddler who spoke a mixture of English, Spanish, and Arabic, much to everyone's delight. Aria was promoted to charge nurse in the emergency department. Tariq was headhunted by a major international firm and took a position that let him finally reconcile with his father professionally, working together but as equals. Their house filled with photos that told their story. Aria in her nursing school graduation gown with Tariq's proud face beside her. Their wedding with both families laughing together. Layla's first birthday with her covered in cake while both sets of grandparents looked on adoringly. Family dinners with Alina teaching Fatima to make empanadas. Tariq and Rashid at a business conference standing side by side. When Layla was 3, they found out another baby was on the way. A boy this time, whom they named Lucas Rashid Zahra. The families descended again, the house chaotic with love and noise and competing opinions about everything. "This is madness," Tariq said one Sunday when both families were crammed into their living room, arguing good-naturedly about whose turn it was to hold Lucas. "This is family," Aria corrected. "Our family." She was right. It was messy and complicated and sometimes still difficult. There were cultural misunderstandings and disagreements. There were moments when old tensions flared. But there was also love, fierce and unconditional and growing stronger every day. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Tariq took Aria back to the bodega. Her uncle had retired and Miguel ran it now, with Isabella helping part-time while finishing college. "You too and this place," Miguel said, shaking his head. "It is like a pilgrimage." "It is where we started," Tariq said simply, his arm around Aria. They bought coffee, still the same price after all these years, and stood by the window where Tariq had waited out the rain that first night. "You ever wonder what would have happened if you had gone to a different store?" Aria asked. "No, because I think we would have found each other somehow. We were meant to happen." He turned to face her fully. "These 5 years with you have been the best of my life. You gave me a real home, a real family, yourself, our children. Everything that matters. You gave me the courage to take a chance," Aria replied. "You showed me that love could be bigger than fear. That family could be chosen and built, not just inherited. Happy anniversary, Aria Zahra. Happy anniversary, Tariq." They kissed there in the bodega, just like they had years ago, while Miguel made exaggerated gagging sounds and Isabella told him to shut up and let them have their moment. Outside, rain started to fall, gentle and soft, and Aria thought about that stormy night when a lost man had stumbled into their bodega. Neither of them could have imagined where that moment would lead. The families that would eventually blend. The life they would build together. The love that would prove stronger than cultural divides and family expectations and fear. 10 years after that rainy night, Aria sat in their backyard watching Tariq play with their 3 children. Layla was 8 now, teaching her 5-year-old brother Lucas how to kick a soccer ball. Their youngest, 3-year-old Jasmine, was attempting to dig a hole to China while both grandfathers supervised and argued about the best digging technique. Elena and Fatima were in the kitchen making dinner together, their friendship one of the unexpected gifts of this whole journey. Miguel and Isabella were setting up the table while debating some political issue. Tariq's cousins who had moved to New York were arriving with their own growing families. This was their life now. Loud and full and sometimes overwhelming, but always, always full of love. Tariq caught her watching and smiled, that smile that still made her heart flutter. He said something to Layla, who took over supervising her siblings and came to sit beside Aria. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Everything. How different my life could have been. How glad I am it turned out this way." "Me too." He took her hand, his thumb tracing over her wedding ring, a gesture so familiar it was like breathing. "I love you, Aria. I love you too." From inside, Elena called that dinner was ready. Rashid declared that Jasmine had definitely dug the deepest hole he had ever seen. Layla and Lucas started racing to see who could get inside first. Fatima came out telling everyone to wash their hands before they touched any food. Aria and Tariq stood together, watching the chaos of their blended family, this beautiful, impossible thing they had created against all odds. "Ready to go join them?" Tariq asked. "Always." They walked hand in hand into the house full of family, full of love, full of the life they had chosen together. Behind them, the rain that had started falling picked up intensity, drumming on the roof like a reminder of where they had started, but they were not running for shelter anymore. They had found it in each other, in the family they had built, in the love that had proven everyone wrong. Aria paused at the door and looked back at the rain one more time, silently thanking that storm for bringing Tariq into her life. Then she turned and stepped inside, where Sunday dinner waited and laughter echoed, and home was not a place, but the people surrounding her. It was exactly where she was meant to be. Years continued to pass, and their love story became the foundation of something larger than themselves. Layla grew into a teenager with her father's business sense and her mother's compassion, talking about becoming a doctor. Lucas discovered a passion for languages, switching easily between English, Spanish, and Arabic, making both families proud. Jasmine showed early artistic talent, filling their house with drawings that blended cultures in ways that made everyone smile. Aria became the assistant director of nursing at her hospital, known for her skill in the emergency department and her ability to mentor young nurses. She never forgot the scared young woman who had worked at her uncle's bodega while pursuing her dreams, and she made it a point to support others on similar journeys. Tariq eventually started his own import business, a venture that his father supported both emotionally and financially. The company became a bridge between cultures, much like Tariq and Aria's marriage, and it thrived because of that vision. On their 10th anniversary, both families threw them a surprise party. The venue was decorated with a mixture of Latin American and Middle Eastern traditions, photos from their decade together covering the walls. Friends and family who had witnessed their journey stood together, toasting a love that had overcome every obstacle. Rashid, now much warmer than the stern man who had walked into that Dubai dinner a decade ago, gave a speech that had everyone emotional. When my son called to tell me he was in love with a woman I had never met, from a culture I did not understand, I thought he was making the biggest mistake of his life, Rashid said, his voice carrying through the room. I was wrong. The mistake would have been letting her go. Aria brought light into my son's life, and in doing so, she brought light into all of ours. She expanded our family and taught us that love knows no borders. Tariq, you were wiser than your old father. And Aria, thank you for your patience with this stubborn man. Alina spoke next, her words equally powerful. When Aria first told me about Tariq, I was scared for her. I thought the differences would be too much. But watching them these 10 years, I learned something important. Love does not erase differences. It celebrates them. Tariq did not ask my daughter to be anyone other than herself. He loved her exactly as she was, and that is the greatest gift anyone can give. That night, after everyone had left and the kids were asleep at their grandparents' houses, Aria and Tariq sat on their back porch under the stars. 10 years, Aria mused. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, and sometimes it feels like you have always been part of my life. I plan to be part of it for at least 10 more, Tariq said, and 10 after that, and 10 after that. That is a lot of decades, not nearly enough. He pulled her closer. You know what I remember most about that first night? It was not just that you were kind to a stranger, it was that you saw me. Not my clothes or my accent or anything else. You just saw me. And you saw me, Aria replied. Not just the girl working at a bodega. You saw who I was trying to become. You became her and so much more. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from years of partnership. Then Aria said, Our kids are going to have such a different experience than we did. They will grow up thinking this is normal. 2 cultures, 2 languages, 2 sets of traditions all mixed together. That is a gift we give them. They get to have both worlds without having to choose. Think they will appreciate it. When they are older, they will. Right now, Lucas just seems annoyed that he has twice the homework with all the language tutoring. Tariq laughed softly. But someday, they will understand what a rare thing they have, what a rare thing we built. 15 years into their marriage, Aria and Tariq had become the couple that other mixed-culture families looked to for advice. They spoke at community events about bridging cultural divides. They mentored young couples facing family resistance. They had become living proof that love could indeed overcome all obstacles if both people were willing to fight for it. The bodega, where it all started, remained a fixture in their lives. Even after Miguel upgraded it and modernized the space, they still dropped by regularly. There was a photo on the wall now, placed there by Miguel, of Tariq and Aria from that first anniversary when they had returned to celebrate. Under it, a small plaque read, "Where Tariq met Aria. Proof that getting lost sometimes leads you exactly where you need to be." Their children grew and thrived. Layla got into an excellent pre-med program. Lucas won awards for his linguistic abilities and talked about becoming a translator at the United Nations. Jasmine's artwork started getting recognition, her pieces exploring cultural identity in ways that moved people to tears. Both sets of grandparents remained heavily involved, their initial skepticism long forgotten. Elena and Rashid had become unlikely friends, often teaming up against Fatima and Tariq when debates about how to raise the children arose. The four of them traveled together sometimes, taking the grandchildren on trips that exposed them to even more of the world. On their 20th anniversary, Aria and Tariq renewed their vows. This time, there was no tension, no family drama, no cultural negotiations. Both families planned it together seamlessly, a celebration of not just the couple but of the bridges they had built. Standing before their families again, older and grayer but still very much in love, Aria and Tariq spoke new vows. 20 years ago I promised to love you forever, Tariq said, his voice thick with emotion. I've kept that promise every single day. You taught me what it means to truly commit to someone, to build a life together, to compromise and communicate and never stop choosing each other. You are my home, Aria. Wherever you are, that is where I belong. Aria's turn came, tears streaming down her face. You walked into that bodega during a rainstorm and changed my entire life. You showed me that love is not about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone perfect for you. Someone willing to learn and grow and face challenges together. You gave me 3 beautiful children, 2 families who learned to love each other, and a lifetime of memories I treasure. I love you more today than I did 20 years ago, and I will love you more tomorrow than I do today. Their children stood beside them, Layla openly crying, Lucas trying not to, Jasmine holding both her brother's hands. In the audience, 4 grandparents watched with pride and joy. After the ceremony, Layla pulled her parents aside. You know what I realized today, she said. My whole life, I have been watching you two love each other, and because of that, I know exactly what kind of love I want someday. The kind that is honest and brave and crosses every boundary. Thank you for showing me what is possible. That night, with all 3 kids staying with their grandparents, Aria and Tariq returned to their house alone. 20 years, Tariq said, echoing Aria's words from a decade ago. How did we get so lucky? It was not luck, Aria corrected. It was choice. Every day we chose each other. Even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. I would choose you 1,000,000 times over. They danced in their kitchen to no music, just holding each other and swaying, grateful for every moment that had led them here. The rain that had brought them together had long since stopped, but its impact rippled through everything they had built. 2 families who should never have merged had become one. 2 cultures that seemed incompatible had created something beautiful. 2 people from completely different worlds had found their way to each other and refused to let go. As they stood there in their kitchen, 20 years of memories surrounding them, Aria thought about that young woman who had handed a lost stranger a towel and a cup of coffee. She could never have imagined this future, this love, this life, but she was so grateful she had taken the chance. What are you thinking? Tariq asked, his question the same as it had been countless times over 2 decades. That I would do it all again, Aria said. Every scary moment, every family conflict, every challenge, all of it, because it led us here. Me too. He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. Always me too. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. Inside, two people who had beaten the odds held each other close. Their love story not just their own anymore, but a legacy they were passing to their children and grandchildren to come. They had proven that love could cross cultures, could unite families, could overcome every obstacle placed in its path. They had shown that millionaires could fall for nurses, that Dubai could meet Washington Heights, that different did not mean incompatible. Most importantly, they had shown that when you find the right person, the person who sees you and loves you and chooses you every single day, nothing else matters. Not money, not culture, not family expectations, not fear, only love. Always love. And as Aria and Tariq stood in their kitchen, 20 years into their happily ever after with many more years ahead of them, they knew without a doubt that they had found exactly what they had been searching for that rainy night when a lost millionaire stumbled into a bodega and found his home in the warm smile of a nursing student named Aria Lopez. The end was really just another beginning, another day in a lifetime of days they would spend together. And that was exactly how they wanted it.